Excellent. Good afternoon, Monique, Wayne. Welcome and thank you very much for your time today.
Hello, Bowen.
How are you doing?
Great.
Excellent. Thank you very much for flying off from Adelaide, Wayne.
No problems at all.
Wayne, how did the name Felix Transport come about?
It actually wasn't my idea. Being in the industry, you do get caught up with, I suppose, the status quo and what everybody else has, and it does shape your thinking. And when I decided to go through the branding process, I actually went to a marketing expert, give her a plug, at Pear Tree Brand Design in Adelaide. And we went through what the process of brand strategy was, is to really organise all your ideas that you have. Because when you're starting a new business, you want to do this and you want to do that and you want to do this and you want to do that. But actually get into a structured order, and so basically it pulls all the ideas together, and that allows the designers to come up with the branding, the creative art, design work. But apart from the creative side of things, you need to come up with a name. And I was quite open to an external advice, and Lowen put down some options for me, and I saw she said Felix Couriers as amongst other ones. I said, oh, geez, I like that idea. That looks interesting. Mm-hmm. And I said, how'd you come up with that idea? And she said, it's Latin for happiness. So, and I thought, well, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make people happy. And Felix Transport.
There you go.
That's
Excellent.
it.
Excellent. So I was thinking along the way, along the lines of discussing a topic which is essential to the survival of our businesses, and that's what makes us different. Wayne, your business is no different. You have to take parcels, and there could be some customer who wants an urgent parcel delivered before 9 a.m. or before 10:30 a.m. because it's probably a passport and he has to catch a flight.
Yep.
Tell us your experience, and what happens. Yours would be almost from the time the telephone rings, you've just got to make things happen.
That's exactly the case. The way, probably take a little bit of a different view on, the situation. There's customer service and there's customer experiences. And they're both, from my perspective, quite a different angle to look from. Customer service is when something goes awry and you pick up the phone and you're able to resolve a matter. And someone feels like, oh, gee, that's great, they've fixed the problem, or they're able to get me back with some information that I needed, and that's good customer service. What we've tried to do with Felix Transport is set up an organisation which provides outstanding customer experiences. Now, that's being proactive with putting a set of scenarios in place of a customer before they actually happen, so they actually walk into them. And the way I would describe that is I have a preferred hotel when I travel, and I know when I go into the lobby, there's a scent in the air, and the people wear the same uniforms when you go see them. They go through the same processes when you actually go to check in, and they're wearing the same uniforms when they go check in. When you go into the room's laid out in the same way. That's a set of experiences that has been created by the company, and you feel comfortable with that, and that gives you the opportunity to buy back from them again. So that's the type of methodology we've gone through with Felix Transport, is to set up a series of scenarios for customers to enjoy so they come back again and again.
And that's what it is. It's about ensuring customer loyalty for all three of us, for all three businesses. You deliver that positive customer experience and you ensure that customer loyalty is maintained.
That's exactly right. I think the way I look at it is there's a value chain, and the value chain starts from the very, very beginning. Looks at your branding, and it looks at your logo, it looks at your name, and looks at the colours, and does it seem appealing to me? Does it appear strong? Does it appear weak? How does it compare to our competitors? Then it goes to the content with your web marketing. Okay, that looks interesting. I'm going to delve a bit further into that. Okay, then the website looks nice. I've seen them around before, so there's a bit of a mental availability for people. They investigate that a bit further. Then that attracts people to dig deeper and then become engaged with your brand and take the journey further with you. Then you're moving into systems and processes and being able to place web bookings. And, geez, this is easy, and I do like using this. And that once that's been placed, the order's been placed, the driver turns up, he looks like the person in the website, he's friendly, they said they're going to be friendly,
Sure.
and it gets delivered, and we deliver on time. And that, from our perspective, brings repeat customers.
It's all good to sort of talk about delivering customer service, but I'm sure there are some challenges along the way too about ensuring that that optimum level of performance is maintained. How do you ensure that the staff that who are delivering the service, right from the offices, right from the back offices to the frontline staff, how do you keep them motivated? What are the tools you use? Do you have programs often? Do you train them? Do you go through a training process for your drivers and all?
100%. So when a driver arrives to want to work for Felix Transport, probably the first thing we would do is assess supply and demand. Look, we operate in an environment which is purely supply and demand. If we have too many drivers and not enough demand coming through, if we're creating an unhappy experience for a driver because they're going to be sitting on the side of the road, and it goes the other way around if we've got too many orders coming through compared to the number of drivers. So we're always consistently challenged by the volumes that are coming through and anticipating the future. So the first thing we would do is have an honest conversation with the driver in terms of their capabilities, their vehicle size. Does it suit our needs moving forwards, personality, and their capacity to sort of, I suppose we call it, be aligned with our values. If we move forward, there is a very extensive induction process to ensure the drivers are trained up from a safety perspective, number one, understanding what the company's expectations are moving forwards, and also there's the IT side of training, which also follows towards the end, as well as the compliance checks. There also needs to become a part of the policy of the company and to create a safe environment. And drivers we say to them, if you feel unsafe about a load, you say no. And we manage the process behind that. And then not a lot of companies actually do that. They actually think about the customer first and foremost, putting the drivers at risk. However, we have a bit of a different view on that scenario, and our drivers are key for us. And because of that, our customers come back because we're all a part of the chain of responsibility, and we've got to make sure our people are safe.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of talk of new technologies, Wayne, and you must have heard the terms artificial intelligence and machine learning concepts now being brought in. They're talking about service delivery, not by humans but by robots, right?
Starting a new business and having smart technology to start with, as well as using ancillary cloud-based technology such as Xero or certain CRM tools, and how that's impacting my day. I'm very interested to see how it's going to roll out moving forward, because we're able to get more done because technology is advancing at such a rate. And I'm quite interested to see how that challenges the traditional company structures. And I've particularly brought up Xero as an example, as an accounting package, and I can see my bank accounts, I can see what's happening, I can process invoices, I can see everything I need to see, I can run a profit and loss statement just by clicking a button. Those roles were actually taken up by bookkeepers, administration staff many years ago, but starting a new business in today, we're able to have leverage off some great technology in conjunction with the transport management system that Sono provides with us, which again is a very fluid system. It's easy to receive a booking, it's easy to allocate a booking, it's easy for drivers to use the application, and it's allowing us to scale quicker without the significant investments in human capital compared to our rivals. And I'm really quite interested to see where this goes as we get larger over time and we get more customers and more drivers and do more activity. How is that going to impact our structures moving forwards? Because at the moment I'm feeling we can get a bit done with the technology that we have.
In your case also, Wayne, I think it would be the same thing, where is my package? That you would love to have if somebody's waiting at home, waiting for an important document to be delivered or some package to be delivered. It is so important that they pick up the phone and says, well, when do you think the driver will turn up?
Exactly. It's great that you brought up that particular topic, because the relationship with Sonar Technologies actually started off that particular concept of artificial intelligence and machine learning. When a customer places an order with us, we've got a fleet controller who actually, traditionally there's a fleet controller that sits there and looks at a job that comes in and says, well, okay, what have I got on my screen and who's available and what direction they're going in, and what have they got on board, and how's that delivery going to compromise the other deliveries that are on board. And fleet trip controllers are like a traditional practice, across the industry. Humans, we have good days, we have bad days, we have experience, we have inexperience, we make good decisions, we make bad decisions, and that creates ambiguity and sometimes non-conformance. My view in moving forwards is that algorithms will take over a large majority of those decisions.
Yeah.
So item type, vehicle type, vectors, driver earnings, general direction the vehicle's going into, what the current SLAs are. There's algorithms that can be brought into that. And I was really pleased to see that Sonar was really bought in by that concept, because when I started talking with Arun and Ivan Teager back from the very beginning, that was something that really binded us together and took us along the journey. And essentially that is how our transport management system is being constructed, with those bones in place. The concept of artificial intelligence and machine learning is another level above that, because it does take... Artificial intelligence is the actual concept of learning as you continue, that the machine or the programming continue learning and improving over time. Now there's other factors such as weather, and there's driver experience, and there's customer nuances, and there's other areas that need to be factored into the programming, which is another level in itself. I do certainly believe that is the direction we're going into. Are we there yet? I wouldn't say we're there today, but certainly over time it can get to that point if we're all committed to it.
This brings about something which is very obvious, and for any company to deliver good customer service requires good people. There are human beings involved in all businesses, right? There are challenges there itself, managing personalities, managing different personalities, managing days when somebody has turned up to work and not in the best state of mind. Both of yourselves, if you have a driver who is not having a very good day, and your driver, and he is driving a vehicle, he has got to be careful, because he is putting both his life and somebody else's life at risk. And these persons have to be in their best frame of mind when they start the day. And you've got to keep making sure that they are fit and they're well, and there are no complications.
Exactly.
How do you manage that?
I totally agree with what Monique's point of view. There's when we go, I'll probably take it a step back. When this, what do you call it? A video cast? What do we call this?
Video podcast.
Video podcast. I think so. The came out. There was a LinkedIn note that went out, and I went, oh, okay, that's out there now. We're doing this, and so all of a sudden I get some questions started getting firing from my LinkedIn people I've joined up with, and one of the questions is why you want to do this for, and you can work for a corporation. What's driving you to do this? And I basically said, look, our vision for our company is to create a company where you feel like you belong. Pretty simple, but essentially that's it. So one of the key opportunities in my industry is the drivers and them feeling a part of an organisation and doing
belonging.
Yeah, belonging to the organisation, and doing a bit more. And we do. That's probably where it stems from, even from the interview process, and where we're looking at our characters and we're looking at, does this person actually fit our values? And what I've found is that even though we're going for a relatively short period of time, our drivers are really quite engaged with that concept, and that, even though you do have good and bad days, what we've found is a lot of consistency with our drivers being engaged with our organisation, because they believe in what we're about, and they believe in the inner core of our business. And yes, that has a great outcome for our customers, but what that's doing is that's creating a sustainable environment for our drivers. And you can deal with your ups and downs, but that's we're finding that people are being attracted to that ethos, and
Sure.
we've got people sort of lined up, ready to start,
That's good.
who are quite engaged with that concept.
It then brings me to a new challenge which we all know about. We can't control it, and that is the changes in the climate that we are experiencing all over the world, not just here, but everywhere. It does affect us because we have customers whose output is measured by a reasonably good weather patterns and sort of predictable things that they can say that yes, our cost is not going to go up because there's a higher cost for water, higher cost for electricity, and therefore we are unable to expand the way we would want to. Wayne,
Certainly,
just imagine,
topic.
imagine you wake up one day and there are some very heavy rains overnight, and all the roads are blocked, and you've got vans full of deliveries to be made.
Mm-hmm.
And it just come down, and it just happened recently in some place where they copped 2 years rain in just a day.
Yep.
And you would have to be ready for that sort of a situation, wouldn't you?
Yes. There are scenarios where customers are quite, if it's a natural disaster, there are some sort of levels of flexibility.
Sure.
And we just have to understand that. But just back to the topic of sustainability and carbon footprint, the transport industry is obviously heavily involved with that scenario, and there's a couple of options out there in terms of electric vehicles as one. Drones, is I think we sort of talked about that earlier in the day. The electric vehicles are starting to make a presence in the Australian market. There are certain contracts which are now making it mandatory for electric vehicles. I don't know if I'm allowed to say IKEA, for example. It's if you were successful in the IKEA, they would want a certain percentage of their fleet, if not all of their vehicles being electric. And there is starting to become a push for that. When we're dealing with courier work, there is no regulation, basically. There is in New South Wales, in terms from a driver pay perspective, but there isn't any sort of ruling on what type of vehicle, how old the vehicle should be and what type of vehicle should be. So, like, my view is until the market is prepared to pay, because obviously electric vehicles are new, and compared to, a 2012 Ford Transit van, it's more expensive to run that vehicle. But however, will the customer pay more for that electric vehicle compared to the Ford Transit van, which runs quite well? I'm not at the view we've got to that point yet of critical mass and for it to become affordable for Joe the driver to go buy a truck, and to make it sustainable for that person, and also for the customer to be happy for that. So that's a challenge for the industry. Like, I think for us to make significant headway, there possibly would need to be some sort of legislative intervention for that to take place. That's what my view is. Something you mentioned a little bit earlier was drone deliveries. I think in certain applications it could work, regional areas, remote deliveries. I just cannot see drones carrying tiles and delivering
steel bars. Absolutely, yes.
Flying down.
That would be a challenge.
Street and accidentally dropping or whatever. I just can't see it happening.
Understand.
In the immediate.
Possibly,
yeah.
That's true.
It's just so I think there's always going to be a place for humans to be involved with that actual last mile activity. Just because of the nature of
the business,
what we're doing and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's probably my take on the future of.
This brings me to probably one of the final questions, I think, for the afternoon. Where do you see 2020 heading? What is your? This is going to be a big topic, and we'll.
How long have we
you're
got?
on record.
How long have we got?
Yes, but looking at if you look at there are a lot of reports which are not really presenting a very strong economic future for some. There's so many reasons, and there are two schools of thought. Obviously, there are the people who think that's the case, and some people saying, no, look, we are going well. All three of us, all three companies have to be ready if there's a downturn. Do you see that happening?
Oh, I think there's a couple of different perspectives. You can sort of look at the macroeconomic outlook, and directors' sentiment is lower looking into the future. It's not overly optimistic into 2020. However, the other side of the perspective is from a small company which is breaking into the market, which has innovative technologies and has a great message to send. I'm quite excited about 2020.
Good.
Everybody has different perspectives, because even if it is on a bit of a downturn, it actually forces people to actually review and look for further ways to
It's an
either
opportunity in
reduce
itself.
cost or try and improve their customer experience. And
Mm.
if you're a company that it's well equipped to take on that change, you should take advantage of that. And I feel that Felix Transport is well placed to take advantage of that situation.
Very
So
good.
I'm very optimistic about next year, and bring it on.
Absolutely. I can't thank you both enough. Have a wonderful year ahead. A very happy new year. A very happy new year to you all and to your families. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.